Welcome to Schulte Sweetie's YouTube channel. My name is Stephanie and I'm a mom of 3 girls ages 11, 7, and 5. And we've been homeschooling this is our 6th year now. Today I wanted to share a little bit about my story, especially of early on of our homeschool journey, when life just happened like crazy. And of course that happened like our first year homeschooling and I can't believe it. But I just wanted to share this story, a couple reasons, because life is going to happen to you. And I just want to share this hopefully as an encouragement that you can homeschool through this, and also like the benefits of homeschooling during a crazy life circumstance. And also November 8th is the anniversary of my dad passing, and I'll tell you that he is a part of my story. And so I wanted to share this in honor of him, and just share about him because his life was special. So in 2017, my oldest was in kindergarten. She was going to a public school kindergarten, and around spring break of that year, it was just laid on my heart that we should start homeschooling this next year. I never ever considered homeschooling, so this was like something different to me. But she was having a lot of struggles with leaving me, especially I was pregnant at the time. So she just really struggled, and I just was like, maybe this is what we need to do so she doesn't have to leave me. I don't want to force her to be away from me if she doesn't have to be. And so that's when we decided. So I had her in kindergarten, and then my middle was 2, and then I was pregnant. And so that summer I knew I was going to have a baby at the end of July, early August. So I think we did start some school in the summer. I don't know, I can't remember exactly. But I also had like a little bit of complications. They were worried about my fluid levels with my baby that I was pregnant with. And so I did have her a few weeks early. In July, she was healthy. There wasn't really much anything wrong with when I had her or anything like that. So I brought her home. We had a few really good weeks, actually, a couple of months. And then in October of that year, so I had her the end of July, and then October, I fell and broke my ankle, leaving a restaurant with our in-laws. So they were in town visiting. So they helped with our kids. My parents met us at the hospital, and I still had my baby because I was nursing her. And I broke it really good. And so they couldn't even do anything that night. I had to go transfer to another hospital. They couldn't do much because it was so swollen and very out of place. So what they ended up doing, instead of fixing it right then and there, it was so swollen that they did an X-fix. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty painful. But they're metal bars that hold your foot and like your area, because you can have it anywhere in your body, I think, hold it together to be able to get the swelling down. And it was crazy. So I had these metal bars kind of sticking out from me. I obviously couldn't put any weight on that for it was probably a good 2 weeks or so until I could go in. The swelling was down, and I had surgery to put like screws and all those type of things in my ankle. So in that time, I also had to basically stop breastfeeding because I was taking different medicines and my milk wasn't producing as well. And so that was another just like tinier struggle in there that I had to make the decision. We just went to formula. It's just what we needed to do, and it worked out well. She's a healthy little girl. So in that time when I was off my foot, my husband worked from home, but he still had to work during the day. And so my dad, who was a pastor, would come over and help with my older 2 girls. We had started a co-op before I broke my ankle, so he would take them every Monday to co-op, usually out to eat. help put my middle one to down for a nap. Like, he was just hands-on helping me. Like, I mean, this was who he was. He always was helpful. Like, we would go to the grocery store together before I broke my ankle, and he would just help me with my kids, and then we would go to lunch. Like, that was our thing. We always had so much fun with him. He was like always like playful, and like my oldest used to call him her best friend because they just like bonded so well. But during that time, when I was down with my ankle, when my dad would come back, maybe from like co-op or taking the girls out or something, he was complaining about like pain in his back, and like he also wasn't eating as well. And I mean, he was never like the healthiest eater, but like he just wasn't hungry, or it just didn't make him feel well. And there was one day I remember I texted my mom after he had left, and I said, there is something else going on with him. He should get checked out again. Like, I think he had gone to the chiropractor or something because of the pain in his back. I was like, but something is going on. So my mom is a nurse, and she's retired now, but at that point she wasn't. She worked in this doctor's office, and so she got him in right away. He got checked out, and they were like, oh, your gallbladder needs to be taken out. So in that time, like, my brother is overseas normally as a missionary, and he came home with his wife, just like it was a normal routine coming home. And they were already planning to be home for months. And so it was right around Thanksgiving they came home. So mid-December was his appointment to get his gallbladder taken out. I remember him calling me and kind of like giving me this weird, like, kind of goodbye. I was like, what? You know, I was like, this is a routine surgery. I did not think of anything was going to go wrong or happen or anything. And my mom went with him, and then thankfully my brother went too. I think it was like a spur of the moment decision. I was still stuck at my house with my ankle. I think maybe starting therapy, but not very much. So they went there, and he went in for his surgery for the gallbladder, and they just found that his belly was full of cancer. So he could not get his gallbladder removed, and that just started that he had cancer. He had a cancer diagnosis now, and we found out later that it was pancreatic cancer, and that where it started, and that started the process of his cancer journey. Shortly after Christmas, he was able to start chemotherapy, and we had a great oncologist. So that Christmas, the 2017, we really like gathered together. We spent the night at their house on Christmas Eve, and he dressed up as Santa the next day. He loved dressing up as Santa, but he was sitting there at 6 a.m. in his rocking chair, and I was down on the couch in the living room with my husband was on another couch. And I woke up at like 6, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he was just so excited to be Santa for the girls. And we just made that Christmas special because we're like, we don't know what this next year is going to hold, but we know that we have this time right now just to make it a special Christmas. So, and thankfully we did, because he passed before the next Christmas. So he started chemo shortly after Christmas, and it really made him sick. I think it was like every 3 weeks. So he was usually sick, especially that first week after chemo. He felt weak and didn't eat and didn't drink very much. We had to like call him constantly to drink a sip of water. But he was able to take that chemo, and I think it did prolong his life. He was able to preach as many Sundays as he could if he was feeling well. Thankfully, we had a great church that they were the hands and feet of Jesus, and just like would bring them meals, or different people would fill in for him if he needed it. They were just so great. So I think it was about July. We were on like a weekend trip, and it was when we realized, and we went on several different like weekend trips, and we went to the Smoky Mountains 2 times. It's like one of our favorite places, one of my dad's favorite places. So we really packed in the memories. So about July, we realized like he was actually really eating, and he said he felt really good and had more energy. And I feel like we even heard that maybe he was in some sort of remission type thing, but that only lasted about maybe 2-3 months at the very most. And then we found out that his chemo was no longer working, and that there was no other option. So that's when he, about September, I think end of September, so he decided not to take any more chemo. And we actually started hospice with him shortly after, because his body was just failing that quick, because pancreatic cancer just moves like that. So we kind of, when I think of fall in October, I think of my ankle breaking, but then I also think of his last and final weeks. But he was pretty sick the last couple weeks. I remember I was able to drive by then, and I would be going to their house just like begging God to take my dad, which is such a strange feeling, to beg God to take this person that I love so dearly, but I didn't want to see him suffer anymore. And he was really sick those last few weeks, so much so that even though he was on hospice and able to be in our home, by the last few nights, like my mom and my brother were helping take care of him, and it was very difficult for them. And she's even a nurse, so she had made the decision to send him to like a hospice center, but before he was able to leave the home on an ambulance, he passed away in our in my mom and dad's house. So and that was on November 8th. But we had lots of time to prepare, and thankfully, so thankful that we were homeschooling at that time, because I didn't have to send my child to school to, first of all, grieve with her teachers or her classmates. She was able to grieve with me, with my mom. We were able to drop what we needed to for a day, to go spend it with him if he had a good day, like if we could go to lunch with him, or if we could just go and be at his house and do our schoolwork. We were, able to make like tiny trips with him and be flexible. And I am so thankful that we were homeschooling when he was sick, and when I broke my ankle too. Like I could just have them come up on the couch. I'm so thankful that we were able to like have a lighter curriculum during that time, that we were able to be flexible and be with him and make those memories, because those memories are so priceless to me now. But then I was also thankful that even afterward, I had therapy sessions, my daughter had therapy sessions, and, just the grief process for all of us, we're still grieving, obviously, even 4 years later, but that grief process, I can't even imagine sending my child to school to deal with this. And so I'm so thankful that we've been able to work through it together. And I think that it made us healthier and stronger as a family to get through this together. So I just want to encourage you that if you're going through this, you can feel free to comment anything, share your story with me. But I just encourage you as a homeschooling mom to just keep going. Take days off if you need to grieve. Take that time to grieve. You will get your schoolwork done eventually, and it's okay to take time off. It's okay to do some lighter days. It's okay for you to grieve. It's a complicated process. If you're grieving, your child's grieving, a parent is grieving, but just give yourself grace, and God's going to be with you during this time. Thanks for joining me today and listening to my story. I appreciate it. Bye.